You've probably noticed it, the pattern you can't quite name. Here's what most men miss. It's not that women are always unhappy. It's that happiness, for most people, isn't a destination, it's a moving target. And women have been conditioned to chase it harder than anyone else. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to walk you through 4 patterns that explain why it often feels like nothing is ever enough. Not because women are broken, but because the system they're navigating was designed to keep them searching. You'll hear what the research actually says, what women themselves admit in private, and why understanding this changes everything about how you show up. If this already resonates, comment yes. If you're skeptical, comment no. I read every comment. Before we go further, if you find value in these conversations, I'd appreciate your support. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. It helps more men find content like this, and it keeps this community growing. Let's start with the first pattern, the expectation overload. Here's what I mean. A woman in her 30s or 40s today is expected to be successful at work, present at home, attractive, emotionally available, independent but not intimidating, strong but not cold. The list doesn't end. Pew Research has shown that women now report higher levels of role strain than any generation before them. They're juggling more expectations from more sources with less permission to say no. And here's the part most men don't see. Every time she meets one expectation, another one appears. She gets the promotion. Now she's supposed to lean in harder. She becomes a mother. Now she's supposed to bounce back immediately. She stays fit. Now she's supposed to look effortless doing it. It's not that she's ungrateful. It's that the goalpost keeps moving, and no matter how much she achieves, there's a voice telling her it's not enough yet. You've probably seen this. She accomplishes something significant, and within days, she's already focused on the next thing she hasn't done. That's not ambition. That's exhaustion disguised as drive, and it's more common than most people admit. The second pattern is comparison culture, and it's accelerated beyond anything previous generations experienced. Let's be honest, social media didn't invent comparison, but it made it constant. A study from the American Psychological Association found that women are significantly more likely than men to experience anxiety and dissatisfaction after spending time on social platforms. Not because they're weaker, but because they're being shown a curated highlight reel of everyone else's life, all day, every day, and the algorithm rewards whatever keeps them scrolling. Here's what that looks like in real life. She's doing well, good relationship, stable career, healthy kids. Then she opens Instagram. Someone from high school just bought a bigger house. A coworker just got engaged in Bali. A fitness influencer just posted her post-baby body 6 weeks after giving birth. And suddenly, what felt like enough 5 minutes ago now feels like falling behind. You might think just log off, but it's not that simple. Because the comparison doesn't stop online. It's in conversations with friends. It's in family gatherings. It's in the way other women size each other up in 30 seconds. Harvard researchers have noted that women tend to internalize social comparison more deeply than men, often tying their self-worth to how they measure up in multiple categories at once. Not just career, not just appearance, all of it, all at once. And here's the tragic part. Even when she's objectively doing well, the comparison makes her feel like she's losing. That's not ingratitude. That's the mental toll of living in a system that profits from her feeling inadequate. Still with me? Comment 1 if this is starting to make sense. Now let's talk about the third pattern, emotional labor. This one's invisible to most men because we're not taught to see it. Emotional labor is the work of managing feelings, anticipating needs, smoothing over conflict, remembering birthdays, checking in on people, keeping relationships alive. And research consistently shows women do the vast majority of it. Not because they're naturally better at it, but because they've been socialized to believe it's their responsibility. Here's how it plays out. She's the one who remembers your mom's birthday. She's the one who notices when you're stressed and asks about it. She's the one who makes sure the kids' schedules don't overlap. She's the one who texts her friends to make sure everyone's okay. And she does all of this on top of everything else she's managing. The problem isn't that she minds helping. The problem is that it's expected. And when it's expected, it becomes invisible. You don't get credit for invisible work. A report from the World Economic Forum noted that women spend significantly more time on unpaid care and emotional management than men, even in households where both partners work full-time. And the kicker? When she's exhausted from it, she's often told she's overthinking or being too sensitive or creating problems that don't exist, so she stops talking about it. But the exhaustion doesn't go away. It just builds, and that quiet resentment, that's where a lot of the so-called unhappiness actually comes from. Not from you personally, but from a system that makes her responsible for everyone's emotional weather and then tells her she's dramatic for feeling tired. The fourth pattern is the validation gap, and this one explains a lot. Women are conditioned from a young age to seek external validation, to care what people think, to measure their worth by how they're perceived. And while men deal with this too, the research shows it hits women harder and lasts longer. A long-term study from the National Institutes of Health found that women's self-esteem is more closely tied to social approval and relational harmony than men's, particularly in midlife. That means her sense of okayness often depends on whether other people think she's doing well, not whether she thinks she's doing well. Here's what that looks like day to day. She posts a photo, she's watching the likes. She gives a presentation at work, she's replaying every word, wondering how it landed. She has a hard conversation with a friend, she's up at night wondering if she said the wrong thing. This isn't vanity, it's a learned survival strategy, because for most of her life, being liked meant being safe. Being accepted meant having access. Being approved of meant having value. And even when she intellectually knows that's not true anymore, the emotional wiring is still there. Now here's where it gets tricky. The validation she's seeking is moving too. What made her valuable at 20 doesn't work at 40. What got her praise as a daughter doesn't work as a mother. What earned respect in one relationship doesn't transfer to the next. So she's constantly recalibrating, trying to figure out what's expected now. And every time she thinks she's figured it out, the standard shifts again. You've probably seen this. She asks, "Do you think I'm doing okay?" And you say, "Yes, of course." But 2 days later, she's asking again, not because she didn't believe you, but because the reassurance didn't stick. Because external validation is like junk food. It feels good in the moment, but it doesn't nourish. And the gap between what she needs and what she's getting just keeps growing. Let me pull this together. Women aren't inherently unhappy, but they're navigating a world that sets them up to feel like they're always falling short. Expectation overload, constant comparison, invisible emotional labor, and a reliance on validation that never quite fills the gap. None of this is about blaming you or excusing bad behavior. It's about understanding what's actually happening beneath the surface. Because when you understand it, you stop taking it personally, you stop trying to fix her, and you start showing up in ways that actually matter. You notice the work she's doing that no one else sees. You give her permission to rest without guilt. You validate her not because she asked, but because you see her. And that shift, quiet as it is, changes everything. What's one thing you've learned about yourself with age? I'd genuinely like to hear. Thanks for sticking with me through this. If this helped you see something differently, consider subscribing. There's more where this came from. And I'll see you in the next one.